How's it going, everybody? And I'd like to say I'm back. I was gone on a work trip last week, so I wasn't able to record a tech support Thursday. So here we are. So it's Thursday, and I'm recording a tech support Thursday. Um, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. I think I know where I left off, so we'll definitely go from there. All right, so let's dive right ahead and get into this. I may or may not have answered this question already, but if I already have and I've hit your question already, you're welcome again. So hi Rob, can't wait to see. Sorry, the video was posted on the NSXV 001 series introduction. Hi Rob, can't wait to see more videos about NSX. He has a Lenovo P17 laptop. Oh, maybe I think I already did answer this one. Yeah, it'll run, but you will probably run out of RAM. I think is what this was happened last time. Um, so actually, I think I already answered this question. Do you think it take a same video? Do you think it makes more sense focusing on CCNP or Cisco technologies, CCNP Encore and RC, before jumping into network virtualization, make does it make it to learn both at the same time because they are complementary skills? Cisco first, so you understand the main underlying operations, because you're going to be using the Cisco infrastructure as the underlay for the overlay connectivity that you're going to see in V and in T. So NSXV leverages VXLAN, NSXT leverages Geneve, but you don't have to always overlay. It's not a requirement in order for the solutions to work. But I would definitely say knowing the backend file, the backend connectivity first will always be a benefit to you versus not. SD-WAN 4 onboarding at vEdges to the controllers. How can I get the Viptela file to upload on vManage for vEdge registration? I believe you can go through the partner portal. There's a plug and play aspect of it too, and it's been so long I don't remember how specifically that works. But when you go into your account and you've got Viptela as your solution, there will be a Viptela file that you'll be able to import, and then all of your devices will show up in your inventory that way. Skipping that one because someone's just complaining. Tech support Thursday ticket 14. What is that membership you mentioned? How do I jump on that? I'm just subscribed to your channel. On any video that you see on the channel or the channel itself, there will always be a join button next to subscribe. Now, depending on where you're from, you may not see the join button. If you don't see the join button, that means you won't be able to join the membership. Maybe I can work around that by giving you direct access to stuff, but that's kind of where we're at with that. NSXV2 physical and virtual lab overview. How are you doing the licenses? VMUG only has license for 6 sockets as far as I know, and on one of your nested ESXi, it looks like it had 4 sockets. Negative. None of my servers have more than 2 physical sockets. I have multiple cores per socket, so no more than 2 CPUs, and each CPU on average has between 6 and 8 cores, which gives me between 12 and 16 CPUs. And then if you hyperthread that, you end up getting 24 to 32 CPUs. So the way that VMUG does this is all I'm leveraging VMUG for is the NSX licensing. So there's a bunch of other license options available as well. You can get ESXi, you can get vCenter, so on and so forth. Normally, when I'm covering something, I will rebuild the lab over and over and over again, just to keep the data center virtualization skills sharp. Normally, I don't use the same deployment over and over and over again for that reason. I was excited to go on this journey with you, Rob. Thanks for all of the efforts. You are welcome. Okay, so on Tech Support Thursday, ticket 13. Thanks, Rob, for answering my question. So informative. Will share my experience after you finish NSX-V series. Hopefully I won't need to purchase more RAM. Hopefully not. SD-WAN 5, bringing up MPLS transport. Hi, Rob. I'm doing the lab, and when I do show BFD sessions, I have no results. Did I miss something? Possibly, but when you're doing show BFD sessions, you're looking for the failover detection mechanism. So that you should have, if you're bringing up the MPLS transport, you should see, as long as your controllers are able to reach the devices, you should be able to, and you've got the BGP set up correctly and advertised for MPLS to pick it up, you should see that show up. I do remember that. So you'll need to have that in place before you'll be able to go any further. So if you're not advertising that subnet into MPLS, into BGP for MPLS to learn, then the other remote sites won't learn it either. So that's the key thing here. You got to remember that the underlay has to be squared away before the overlay will work. So if you have any wonkiness, whether it's issues in the network, or you have routing loops, or you have latency and stuff like that, you're going to need to get those bugs worked out first before you can deploy an overlay solution. And that goes with any overlay solution, whether it's DMVPN, whether it's FlexVPN, ACI, NSXV, NSXT, SD-WAN, because they're all overlay solutions. They all leverage an overlay encapsulation of some kind, whether it's clear text or encrypted, in order to get traffic from one side to the other. And if the underlying communication isn't correctly deployed and operational, then the overlay will never be able to come online. So that's the key thing. You got to remember that's got to be squared away first, and then you can move on. And that's what I'm suspecting here. But I could be completely off base. But that's basically where I would first look. But if you do show BFD sessions, you should see connectivity on that location. And you're not giving me any indication of where you're looking, whether it's on the MPLS only site, or if you're looking at a site that's got both internet and MPLS. Is the internet connections working? Now remember that and I don't remember specifically how it worked because it's been over a year now, that when you're looking at how this deploys, you're going to have to take into consideration that if you have two different T-locks, transport locators, you're going to have to keep in mind that you're going to try to show peer BFD sessions over both of them, right? And that's where I talked about the color and about the locking it down, so you wouldn't try to form a BFD session from on MPLS over to internet. So keep that in mind as well. On NSXV1 series intro, love to follow the lab from very first step to finish. Thank you very much for your sharing mode, Mr. Rob Riker. You are welcome. Carrier supporting carrier L3 VPN on iOS and XR. This is an old one. Hi, your blog link doesn't work. Okay. I will take a look at that. VMware Physical Lab Deployment Part 2. Let's see here. Rob, thanks for this video. Haven't worked with UCS before, and I just got a UCS C220M3 for my home lab this morning. After watching this video, my own installation and setup, and went as smooth as silk. Thanks for the guidance on where to enable the RAID controller. Very appreciated. I do remember that. There's a comment on SD-WAN, welcome to next gen networking, but it appears it's in some sort of Asian, like I'm going to guess Chinese or Japanese. I honestly don't know which one. They look the same to me. I couldn't differentiate Japanese from Chinese or Vietnamese or how any of that writing looks. It's some Asian writing. Tech support Thursday, ticket 13. Hey Rob, would you ever do VCP exam prep? I actually have done quite a bit here on the channel. If you look at any of the VMware or the vSphere for NSXV, I've covered quite a bit of topics on that. My goal is to continue that, but as of right now, I'm working on ramping up on the NSXT reference design guide. As I'm talking to you right now and recording this video, I'm looking at it on my other screen. I'm currently working through the design guide, which has been super helpful in trying to help me understand how everything works. So that's going to be something that I will be referencing a lot. My goal with NSXT, which I'll begin recording here very, very soon, I'm going to be rolling that out, and that's going to be a lot to cover, and I'm going to be going pretty deep on that because I work with it every day now. So hopefully that'll help. I'm not sure which VCP you're referencing, or if you're just talking VCP in general, but remember there's several of them. You've got data center, network, desktop, workspace 1, and a couple of others. So if you have a specific VCP you're looking for, I suggest you look over at, do some research. If you're looking for data centers, a lot of really good resources online already for that, like the Mastering VMware vSphere 6, 6.5, 6.7, stuff like that. I'm kicking the can around with the idea of doing an NSX book and seeing maybe that would be something I would dive into, but I haven't decided on that yet. Let's talk about Palo Alto Source NAT for internet access. Let's see here. Hi Rob, thanks for your videos and sharing your knowledge with us. I have a little query. Maybe it may be a dumb question to ask, but there is a default predefined permit rule which allows traffic from going to trust to untrust zone. Then why there is need to create another security policy named Internet NAT policy for that? I'd have to go back and look at why I did that, because the question was posted on a video that was done a while ago, like over a year ago, I think. And I think that might have to do something for the fact that I created user-defined virtual routers, or VRs, on the PA. I could be wrong on that, but that's why, I think. I'd have to go back and watch the video. But there is a predefined rule, but I'm pretty sure that if I remember correctly, if it's anything like any of the major firewalls, if you create a user-defined rule, you can bump it up higher, and it'll be hit before a system-defined rule or a predefined rule that's already there. So that's why I did that. If you look at FTD, that's how FTD works. There's a default rule, and you create rules above it, and those are, you permit and deny as well in there. But in your predefined rule, you'd usually have a deny entry in there, and you wouldn't use that one. How a $1,000 investment can help you earn $100,000 or more a year. This video has actually gotten quite a bit of response. It is a little clickbaity. It's probably my first clickbaity video in quite some time. People won't appreciate how easy and cheap they get it nowadays. Not so long ago, back in 2000s, when Dynamis was in its inception and simulators didn't exist, even for relatively simpler CCNA cores, we had to buy real equipment. There were some rack rental deals, but they were all rigged by hand, and you had to buy full session time, no pause, etc. Costed a kidney or two. That is true. Used equipment was also 10 times more expensive on eBay. Only when 800 series started to appear, we could finally have something that we could consolidate routing and basic switching together in a neat, small physical form factor package. We also had to scavenge old 2500 series with AUI transceivers, so we didn't have to monkey with console cables day and night. EVE-NG is so much more convenient than GNS3. You just learn its setup intricacies once, and it's good to go forever. I 100% agree with this comment, because I was too one of those people that was an early adopter of GNS3 when it first came out, or at least when I first got exposed to it. And it was very tricky to get working, and you didn't support any switching at all. I haven't used GNS3 in so long, I don't know what's supported and what's not anymore. I did not, it got to a certain point where integration to external systems became VirtualBox VMs that had to be mapped this way, and if your computer didn't like it or whatever, it would wig out. So, yeah, Eve has 100% replaced GNS3 for me, and I don't even think I have GNS3 installed in this computer. I have it here, but it's not set up. Like, I'd actually have to go map operating systems to it. Like, I installed it to show someone how to install it. That's as far as I took it. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the AUI transceivers. I used to have to deal with that too. They were a pain. SD-WAN 33, Service VPN, application aware routing. Good way to demo this. I have two CSR 1000Vs in my lab for simulated MPLS and INAP. I didn't install an eval license to the MPLS router, so it runs at 1 megabits per second. So this tells me that you're on a newer version of code, 16.6 and newer. The CSR was upgraded to a megabit of throughput, which is why I run that specific version as well. And then, which is a good simulation of slow MPLS. Internet router, I installed a 10 gigabyte eval license, so that runs as fast as it likes. And what this person's referencing is you can actually go to Cisco's website and get an eval license for the CSR 1000V to unlock its potential. I never unlock the potential because then I really should for some scenarios. Back when I was testing at IWAN, I really should have bumped that up, but I never did. But it definitely is a good idea to do that because then you can run at full line rate through the CSR, and 10 gigabytes I think is the fastest it goes. Maybe, I don't remember, but yeah, that is a good way to demo that, especially when you're looking at application aware stuff. But I didn't really demo how it would path because I just wanted you guys to see the before and after, and the GUI did a good job of showing the differences after the template was applied. How to set up Cisco SD-WAN and eBNG. Cisco won't let me download the images even when I logged in. Do I need to be a representative of a company to be able to do some eBNG labs, or am I missing something? You must be doing so. When you go to the Cisco Modeling Lab or CML and you buy the personal edition license for $200, once you have gone through all the steps that are required by Cisco to do so, which as far as I know isn't many, then you get you get access to, you log in, and then there's a different, you go to your orders or my it's my something in the drop down. And then when you go there, you're able to download your images from Cisco through the Cisco Learning Network. And when you do that, then you'll be able to download them and download the QCAT2 images and then upload them to eBNG. That's all I ever did. So it's nothing crazy. But you don't have to be a representative of a company because that's why they call it the personal edition, because there's lots of people that pay the $200 and voila, they get access to the images. So you don't have to be tied to your company. No, that's not required. VMware Physical Lab Deployment Part 1. Nice. Thank you. NSX V6. Deploying logical switches and associating VMs. It amazes how much you know while still being young. If you don't mind me asking, how much a guy with your knowledge make a year, and what position fit this knowledge best? If the question is too personal, you can put an estimated range. Thank you. Okay, so I'm 38. So I guess in some people's eyes I could be young if you're older than me, but I'm also older than a lot of people in the industry. I should say, not a lot. I'm older than some people too. So it really depends on where you go to work. So I got very fortunate with the last employer that I interviewed with, the company I currently work for. I was so a lot of times what will end up happening, you're going to get submitted by a recruiter or you're going to get. I usually work with third-party recruiters. The few times that I am looking for work, but I usually work with a third-party recruiter. they submit me at some rate. Let's say it's $35 an hour, which is around about $70,000 a year. So you get submitted at that rate, and then the company will go, okay, this guy wants $35 an hour. Do we have $70,000 a year in our budget to pay this person? So if that'll work, great. If not, then you guys come in and you start negotiating. Well, we can't offer you 35, but we can offer you 30. So you'd have to figure that out. So it's going to be hard to pinpoint that because, in my opinion, anybody with a CCIE that is still active with the CCIE, meaning that you still dabble with it every once in a while. I don't touch a lot of my CCIE technical knowledge very often. It definitely helps when I'm learning networking solutions because VLANs, trunking, spanning tree, or dynamic routing, overlay, underlay, I understand all of that. So that makes it that much easier, but it really depends on where you live, where you work. So if you're one of those type of people that likes to work in the office, and let's say you live in a non-tech city, let's say I'm just going to pick a city. Let's say you live in Des Moines, Iowa. Just pulling a name off the top of my head. Des Moines might not be able to afford, well, depending on the company you work for too. If you live in a small town with, say, less than 100,000 people in it, if you live in a small town and the company just can't afford to pay you, let's say $150,000 a year, but maybe you're worth $150,000 a year, well, the company you're working for won't be able to give you the salary you're looking for. So you might have to shop around. Fortunately for me, I work for a company where I'm able to work from anywhere, right? As long as I have an internet connection, I'm good to go. That's all that's required of me. So I might have to travel every once in a while, which I already have. Travel is usually covered by the company. So you travel wherever you need to go. But the key thing is when you're trying to get work, obviously you're trying to get the most out of the organization, and the organization is trying to pay you the least they have to in order to get you to come to work for them, as long as it's going to be beneficial for both parties to go work with each other. You as the employee, them as the employer. So that's really the bottom line. Can I give you a pay rate? It's really going to be hard to say, because if you live on the East Coast in a small town of, say, 50 to 100,000 people, and the company is local to that area, you might not get anywhere close to $100,000 income. You might be stuck at 65, 70,000. That might be the top end pay for a position. But you could go to a major metropolitan city, like, let's say, for example, like Atlanta or Dallas, a very large city with multiple millions of people living in it. That same position might pay $140,000 a year. So demographics do play a role in how much you get paid and where you work and how much work you have to do. But it comes down to figuring that out, where you're going to be working. So in this day and age, I live very, very close to two major metropolitan cities, Milwaukee and Chicago. I'm about 4 hours from Indianapolis and about 6 hours from Minneapolis. I'm within 5 hours of Des Moines. So the cool thing about that is, and I'm a few hours from Michigan. And so the bottom line I'm trying to get across here is that no matter where, I'm pretty centrally located in the upper Midwest. So if I needed to go to Milwaukee for work, I can go to Milwaukee. If I need to go to Chicago, I can go to Chicago. And then anything beyond that is getting on a plane and flying somewhere, whether that's Nashville, Louisville, Dallas, Orlando, Miami, Boston. The thing that keep in mind is when you're looking at these positions, you're trying to get as much money for your skills as you're possibly trying to get, and there's nothing wrong with that. But keep in mind that the where you are will sometimes dictate how much you make. So if you're not willing to move out of mom's basement because you don't want to pay rent, then you might have a scenario where you're only going to make 45,000 a year at that job. Some people are happy as a lark going to work for a company, and they make $45,000 a year for the next 25 years. Some people are just happy doing that. Some people are like me. That would never fly. I'd be like, wait, okay, I've been here 2 years. I haven't gone anywhere. It's time to move on. So it's one of those things where you have to look at your current situation and figure out what it is that you want to be doing. Because remember, you're in control of your own destiny. So if things aren't working out the way you want them to in your current role, or you're you're trying to move up into a position that you have been studying for a long time, and the current organization you are working for doesn't seem to have any interest in letting you move up, leave. That's what I've done. And I don't let an organization hold me back. And if I feel like I'm being held back, or the company isn't providing me the means of growth of some type, whether it's you're doing other things and you're always moving the needle a little bit. I've worked for organizations where they are more than happy to keep me in my corner and just let me churn out work, and that's fine for a while. But if that work makes you depressed and doesn't want to wake up in the morning, it's time for a change. You have to be in control of you, because at the end of the day, the company is looking to do one thing and one thing only, and that's be profitable. So if you're a revenue generating asset on the organization, then they're going to keep you in that position because you're good at it. But if that doesn't make you happy, I'm all about being happy. If as long as the money's good and I'm happy, I'm gonna stay where I'm at until I'm no longer happy and the position doesn't, the job doesn't satisfy what I'm trying to go after. That's why you have evolution in your career, right? You start off at help desk, and you work the desktop support, and you work in engineering for a while, then eventually become, a dedicated engineer on the network or server team. You work with all that type of stuff for several years. You eventually become a senior person in that area, and then you're like, you know what, I'm not really interested in working for a single organization anymore. And then you get into consulting, like I did. You start working in consulting, you get way more exposure. You're like, oh wow, I should have been learning a lot more before I jumped the gun. But you end up learning as you go, and before you know it, you get to the point where you've hit that, like, you learn what you don't like to do, right? And you learn what you love to do. So when you learn something you don't like to do, whether that's doing networking, wireless security, VPNs, whatever that might look like, then you can move on to the next thing. Eventually, I will move out of engineering and professional services, and will eventually move into some sort of pre-sales, where I don't want to be on the command line anymore. I don't want to be clicking buttons anymore. I'm just going to take all the knowledge that I've accrued. I have my documentation that I can always reference later, and I can go and talk to customers, and that's eventually something that I will be doing. Is I will eventually move into pre-sales, and I won't be banging on the keyboard anymore. I'll just be talking to customers all day, and I'm completely fine with that. Eventually, that'll become my thing. Whether or not I would go into management or be a technical lead, that has yet to be determined or foreseen. I don't know. Maybe I go back to school and get my MBA. I don't know. I have been kicking the idea of potentially going back and getting a degree, or finishing my degree, I should say. So, long answer to a very short question, but it's not a $70,000 to $180,000 a year answer. I mean, if that's what you were looking for, maybe that's the target rate. But where you are, I don't want to use the term location, because nowadays it's kind of irrelevant. But if you are living in a town where you don't have a lot of large businesses, or there's not the median income level is say $45,000 a year, and you go into an organization and you say, I want to make $150,000 a year, they're going to laugh you out of the meeting, because no one's going to be making that kind of money. You're going to be making up here, and most people are going to be down here, right? And that's something that you're going to have to keep in the back of your mind. Hopefully that answers your question. NSX V1 series intro. Great video. I was just tasked with implementing NSX and decided to take my Labbing another level and get the VMUG Advantage membership. There's a promo code you can use and it knocks $20 off. I think your videos will be a big help with understanding NSX. My suspicion is you're referring to NSXT, not NSXV, but there are several things that overlap, but there are several things that are different as well. But with that being said, hopefully my series will help you. I am currently developing a plan for the NSXT series, which will go much more into design and deployment because I'm studying for several exams at the same time. Understanding tagging. This was a video I did a long time ago. Holy cow. This was... I can't even remember how many years ago this was. And somebody responded with test cable TDR diagnostics, which the person's right. It's how you do a cable test. Service provider Intra AS L2 VPN 13 VPL's eTree hub and spoke. Hi, if our service provider eTree, if our service provider provide eTree, how to make communication between each leafs? So, I think you asked me this question on Twitter as well. And eTree is nothing more than a hub and spoke design where you're leveraging route targets for doing import and export rules, just like you would do with MPLS Layer 3 VPN. And you're determining who's going to be doing imports and exports. Who's going to export what route target, who's going to import what route targets. So the idea is that if you have 4 leafs and you want leaf 1 and 2 to be able to communicate and leaf 3 and 4 to be able to communicate, but not 1 and 2 with 3 and 4, then you would just not import the route targets that are being exported from leaf 3 and 4 into leafs 1 and 2. That's basically what you're doing. But the hubs or the routes would be importing everybody and exporting everybody. Or exporting itself, importing everyone. Nothing more than that. It's a hub and spoke design. CCNP Encore and RC Video 1 introduction. Thank you, Mr. Rob. Good work. Thank you. You are welcome. SD-WAN 22. I think we're near the top here. We're getting close. Service VPN 1 NAT policy with centralized data policy. I suppose I should be able to define a data policy where I can pat one block of internal IPs to one public IP and another set of internal IPs to a separate public IP. Both public IPs from within the same block. I think I am thinking I want to NAT guest traffic versus corp traffic, i.e. NAT guest subnet behind separate public IP to corp subnet. Yeah, what you're referring to is policy NAT, and I'm pretty sure this is supported, which if you wanted to do that, you could do that. Normally on a router or a firewall, you're just you're using a subnet range instead of doing a, what do they call it? Tying it to a PAT where you're doing interface overload. You're grabbing a subnet of a range of IPs, but yeah, you can do that. That would be supported. CCNP Encore and RC Video Series 1 Introduction. Hey Rob, first things first, thanks a lot. Can you please upload a link for the topology because there's no link for download. So you have to join the membership and then you'll be able to click on the link to download all the files. If you don't see that, it might not be supported in your country. I found that out recently, but that's basically what's going on. You have to, if you're on a video or on the channel itself, you can click the join button at any time. Let's talk about Palo Alto device reset and bootstrapping. Lab setup video link. Anyone give me how to set up a lab? Not sure what you mean by that, but thanks for stopping by. How a $1,000 investment can help you earn $100,000 or more a year. Rob, can you please provide the info description to buy the Cisco UCS? Well, you buy the Cisco UCS through eBay. That's where I bought mine. But for the platforms, like which you go by, I will see if I can't, because that's on the video. I'll try to add something in there, but as long as the CPU supports virtualization and has enough cores for you to run what you want to run, make sure you get enough RAM. 128 to 256 gigs is what I recommend. So that is pretty much that. I know I'm being kind of vague in some of my responses here towards the end because I've been going for a little while now. But that's kind of the situation at hand. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to sign off for now because we're pushing 40 minutes now, and I wasn't planning on going that long. But hey, guess what? That's why they call it question and answer, right? You guys were awesome. If you haven't already done so, please like, share, and subscribe. We are definitely climbing the ladder of subscribers recently. Getting closer and closer to 25,000. That is my new current goal. And I've found out, I've come to the realization that I want to do I'm looking for 5,000 subscriber increments. So I want to get to 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. I'm also looking at doing some additional stuff when it comes to doing live streams and stuff like that. So cool stuff there, hopefully in the near future. I don't know if I'm going to do anything during the summertime because I'm pretty tied up with family stuff during the summer. But cool stuff coming. I'm hoping to do some more advanced networking, and I want to get in, do some more, do a lot more VMware stuff. That is my goal. With that being said, I want to thank everybody for stopping by and hanging out with me in this video. And until next time, guys, take it easy.